This lesson will teach you how to go from standard form of a quadratic to factored form using a method called decomposition. First thing you want to do is check to see if your a value, or the number in front of x squared, is a 1. If it is, this is actually an easy kind of factoring to do. What you want to do is look for two numbers that add up to your b value, the middle number, in this case -3, and multiply to give you your c value, -18. And there's only one combination that will do this for you. If you get stuck, try looking for all the combinations of numbers that multiply to give you 18. And in this case, the only thing that's going to work for both of these is -6 and +3. And once you know the numbers, you write two sets of brackets, you write x minus 6 in one, x plus 3 in the other, and you're done. Once you look at the question, you notice though that your a value is not a 1 anymore. You have to use a longer method. And in this case, we're going to start the setup the same way. I want to look for two numbers that add up to my b value, in this case -1, but multiply to give me not just the last number, but what I get when I combine my a value and my c value together. So a times c, 2 times -10 in this case, is -20. So I want two numbers that multiply to give me -20, but add up to -1. And the two that work for this combination is -5 and +4. Remember, there's only one possible combination, so you have to keep looking until you find it. So instead of writing my middle number here, -1x, I'm going to break it down, or decompose, into two numbers that add up to -1x. So in the middle now, I'm going to write -5x plus 4x. And once I've done that, I move on to my next step, which is actually just common factoring. But the key is I'm going to common factor only two numbers at a time. So the first two numbers, separately from everything else, 2x squared minus 5x, the only thing common to those two is an x. So I write down an x, open my bracket. The leftover part is 2x minus 5. I do the same thing with the second two numbers. 4x minus 10, the only thing common between those two numbers is a 2. So I divide out the 2, open the bracket, and again it leaves me with a 2x and a -5. Now check here to make sure that both brackets are exactly the same. If they're not, then you've done something wrong. You need to go back and check your work again. Both brackets will always be the same. That's very important. Because the last step is actually one more common factoring step. I'm going to take out the 2x minus 5 from both of those groups of numbers, and the second bracket becomes the two leftover numbers. So from the first group, x has been left over. From the second group, +2 has been left over, and that's my final answer. If that was a little bit confusing for you, on the side here, I've done a simple common factoring with the letter y, and then all I did underneath was I replaced the letter y with 2x minus 5. So you can see it gets common factored out just like the y did in my easier example on the top. And that's about it. I've written out here all the steps with no spaces in between, so you can make sure you go through and check all your work so that you see how I got my answer. And the nice thing about this kind of factoring is that once you do have an answer, you can expand it out again using what a lot of people call the FOIL method. Multiply it out first, outside, inside, last, and you should get back to exactly what you had at the beginning of the question. Then you know that it worked. Let's try one more example to make sure everyone understands. 3x squared minus 13x plus 12. I'm looking for two numbers that add up to -13, my b value, but multiply to give me a times c. So 36 in this case, 3 times 12. So what two numbers are going to multiply to give me 36, add up to -13? Well, it has to add up to a negative number, but it multiplies to give me a positive number. So both numbers I'm looking for are going to be negative. So I go through my times tables, and I know that 9 times 4 is 36. And 9 plus 4 is 13. So all I have to do is make them both negative, and I found the numbers that I'm looking for. So -9 and -4. So now I'm going to take out my -13x, and I'm going to replace it with two numbers instead, the -9x and the -4x. Now I start common factoring, but only in groups of two. So looking at only the first two numbers, I know my common factor is going to be a 3 and an x from both of those numbers. Now if I look at the second two numbers, the -4x and the +12, I know 4 is a common factor. But since the first number is a -4x, I'm actually going to take out a -4. And when I do that, 3x from the first two numbers, -4 from the second two numbers, notice both brackets end up being x minus 3. So now that that's common to both, I take out the x minus 3, and the two leftover parts become my second bracket, 3x minus 4, and now I am fully factored. And if you want it on your own, take a second and make sure that when you expand this out, you get back to the original question. That's a good idea to do, and if you have time on a test, I recommend you do that as well. Good luck, and have fun.